I'm going to show you 3 different ways of rowing. Not to say any of them are better than the other, they just have different benefits. And often when people are teaching rowing in the gym, they'll say you should do this or you should do that. Well, it all depends on what your goals are. So one way I've done that is to create the difference between a mobility row and a stability row. So a mobility row is like a cat stretch on steroids. It really gets into this back while it's under tension. So for instance, we come into a depression. We can let the head come up and into a depression and then slowly pull back nice and narrow and come into an elevation, lifting the chest to the chin and then into that depression. Now the amazing thing about this position is most of us are in a slightly physically depressed position when we walk. We might be feel more depressed when we get into that depression. However, it's all about, oh yes, I must go the other way. Well, how about we get into a more depressed position to create that elastic across the back to recall back to that elevation. So somewhere in between is our perfect posture. It's this elevation, depression, elevation, depression. So you can do that with here. So this is like the arch and the cat stretch, and then pulling into a cow position, lifting those shoulder blades, getting to drop down the back, and then you can find the best position to do it continuously. Depression, elevation, depression, elevation. Now a stability row is where we want to find a good position in the spine and then row. So the idea is that we only row a small distance back, and we're thinking about finding a good place for our shoulder blades on our back and then keeping them in that position to go through the movement. So the easiest way to do it is if you stand on one foot, you've got that balance going, and then you slowly row back. And if you go any further, you'll notice my head wants to drop. So you will feel when you get to that optimal position there, we're just reinforcing that, keeping the shoulder blades back as we bring the arms forward. You can do about 7 to 8 reps on one side and then swap to the other side. Now, and you'll feel that upper back straighten, you'll feel the crown of the head shoot up, and we want to reinforce that upright posture in the upper back by doing a really good rotator exercise. So you come from that last position a little bit closer, elbows ideally up at shoulder height, but you can start them lower if you feel you can't quite get them into a position, because it's no use bringing the elbows up and letting the shoulders come up too. We want those shoulder blades down and back, and then coming into that external rotation, like the Bruce Lee back fist, that feeling we want to get in the forearm to work the rotator cuff while we're in a really good postural position that really promotes this strengthening up to the neck in that position.